Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is Conrad Chua, Rise with the Sun, where I talk about the biggest business, technology, society issues first thing in the morning, where sunrise whenever we are. So I'm here in Cambridge. Sunrise was 2 minutes ago. I'll show you what it looks like. Let me just get this going. There you go. As you can see, yes, there is sun. I don't know if you can make out. There's some mist out there, so it's going to be a cold start, March start, but spring is definitely in the air. Now, today we're going to talk about something you've definitely experienced, but maybe you might not know how to name it. That is toxic leadership. Now, you know the type: the boss who takes credit for your work, the CEO who says we're all a family here right before laying 20% of the company, the startup founder who preaches radical transparency but loses their mind if you dare question them. And the worst part is, is we reward them, right? Think about this guy, Elon Musk, right? Everybody knows the kind of toxic, bullying leader that he is, but he is also, hey, the richest person in the world. Also, I think everyone's watched this press conference with, I think it was the Oval Office in the White House, where Trump and J.D. Vance, basically the two most powerful people in the free world, just ganged up on Zelensky. Now, toxic leadership is obviously not just tolerated, it's celebrated, it's rewarded. These leaders, they get the highest office in the land, they get the biggest bonuses, the most glowing Forbes profiles, and in this case, as you can see, the nuclear codes. So today, we're going to break this all down. Why are some of the most successful people actually walking red flags? 5 types of toxic leaders you should recognize before they ruin your career. And why the best bosses aren't the ones who yell the loudest, but the ones who know when to shut up and listen. So let's get to it. First, what makes a leader toxic? Let's set the record straight. Being a tough boss doesn't make you toxic. So think about Steve Jobs. He was a perfectionist. He was demanding, he was relentless, but he also made people better. Now, I personally think that maybe if Steve hadn't tragically died so relatively young, he might well have turned out to be a toxic leader, but who knows, right? Now, a toxic leader, though, is a parasite. They don't challenge you to improve. They take your work, claim it as their own, and throw you under the bus if it ever goes south. So here's a bit of a checklist for you to see if you're working for a toxic leader. Number 1, micromanaging everything. If you need approval for the font size in an email, run. 2, blame shifting. It wasn't my fault, it was the deep state. 3, self-promotion. They talk about themselves more than a reality TV star. 4, short-term thinking. Let's gut the team to boost Q2 earnings so that we can go for an IPO. And 5, gaslighting employees, making you doubt reality. Did I actually mess that up, or is my boss just insane? Now, if you've worked for someone like that, congratulations, you've been in a toxic workplace. But here's the real kicker. We reward these people, right? Now, why do we keep rewarding them? Because in the short term, they get results. Look again at exhibit number 1, Elon Musk. He's brilliant, visionary. He's a nightmare to work for. His sleep in the office or get out mentality, it's pushed Tesla, SpaceX, Twitter, sorry, I'm not calling it UX, to the very limits, right? But there's also Steve Jobs. He was ruthless, perfectionist, but at least he had good taste and he knew what to do. So for every Jobs or Musk, there's 1,000 terrible bosses who aren't geniuses. They're just bullies with stock options. The truth is, toxic leadership works until it doesn't. And when that happens, employees burn out and quit, the company loses institutional knowledge, culture becomes a dumpster fire that no one wants to work in. Then the board wakes up. Maybe they've got the courage to fire the CEO, but don't bet on it because a toxic CEO probably is already control the board, right? So all this is predictable, it's avoidable, yet it happens every time. Now there are 5 types of toxic leaders, and Theo Welsman, a leadership expert, identified these 5 types. We're not going to go through all 5. I'm just going to show a few. The first one, it's the cold fish. This is the person with no empathy, no warmth, just results. Think winning is everything, but without the charm of Michael Jordan. Second one, the puppet master. Controls everything, makes you dependent, then blames you for not being independent enough. There's also the monarch. Treats the company like their personal fiefdom. Right? So have you ever worked for the company CEO who takes the company car just for their own personal lunch? That's the monarch. We have 2 other types, the snake, a manipulative, self-serving, will smile while stealing your job type, and the glory seeker. It's obsessed with PR, LinkedIn posts, looking good, but never actually doing the work. Chances are you've worked for at least one of these, and sometimes you see all of these characters in one person. Good luck to you. Now, spotting a toxic workplace before it's too late is very important. You think about it, right? Does your boss constantly need validation, right? If you don't say thank you every 30 minutes, if you don't smile, they get passive aggressive, they think you're against them. That's warning sign number 1. Warning sign number 2, they take all the credit, none of the blame. That project was a disaster, and it's not my fault, right? It's got to be IT, it's got to be you. Warning sign number 3, it's being like a hypocrite. They brand you, they call you a spendthrift. You're not doing your ROI. Why are you spending this amount on this thing? But they blow money on personal projects or personal pet projects. They don't care. The rules don't apply to them. Warning sign number 4, they surround themselves with loyalists, the yes people. If everyone at the top is a yes man, run. You saw this at Trump's cabinet meeting where he went round the table and everyone had to say what a glorious leader, beloved leader you are. Great man, run. And lastly, they guilt trip employees. Ever had a boss that says, I've done so much for you, why aren't you grateful? Yeah, that's a red flag. Now, toxic leaders don't just make work miserable, they cost companies billions in high turnover, disengagements, lawsuits, all adds up. And yet, boards still promote these people. So what can we do about it? Firstly, if you're on a board, it's very obvious, stop promoting toxic people. Being effective isn't enough. Look at their impact on culture. You can reward collaborative leadership, not just cutthroat results. Watch for the short-term thinking. If a CEO is obsessed with stock price over strategy, that's a problem. Of course, if the board is incentivized on short-term thinking, then that's an even bigger issue. Then for employees, if you're in a toxic workplace, start planning your exit. It won't get better. You could call out bad leadership when you can. Toxic leaders, they thrive on silence. And remember, it's not just you. Toxic leaders make you question yourself. But the problem isn't you, it's them. So, toxic leadership is everywhere in business, politics, you know, yeah, even your local community. So it's rewarded in the short term, but it always fails in the long run. And the question is, are we finally ready to stop it, to stop rewarding it? Now, what's the worst toxic leadership experience you've had? You can drop it in the comments, and I'll look at them, read the best or worst ones in the next episode. Until then, stay safe, stay sane, stay skeptical, and please, if your boss says we're all family here, then start looking for a new job.